Hello, and welcome to the IMTS Spark virtual conference in the systems integration track entitled The Death and Rebirth of the American Job Shop. Our contract machining shops came of age with a close group of customers and product techniques to sustain their business model. These relationships built the foundation of the job shop network supporting various industries. Relentless technological improvements now allow suppliers to produce parts more cost effectively, upending these historical supply agreements. This job shop must reinvent itself to compete in technology, personnel, and use all available marketing and social media to broaden the book of business. Our presenter is Tom Clark, who for the past 4 years has been president and CEO of Index Corporation, which has its North American headquarters in Noblesville, Indiana. Index is a global supplier of high-precision turning equipment, solutions to the automotive, medical, fluid power, and aerospace markets. Mr. Clark joined Index following 33 years at Makino, and he recently announced he will retire from Index at year-end, with Chris Taylor joining Index in November. Chris has had a long international career at Chiron. I'm this session's moderator, Eric Brothers, senior editor of GIE Media's Manufacturing Group, which includes the publications, websites, social media, and digital offerings of aerospace manufacturing and design, today's medical developments, today's motor vehicles, and today's e-mobility. Each title focuses on design and manufacturing topics specific to its industry to give our readers insights to improve productivity, lower costs, and be successful. I'll be collecting your questions for Mr. Clark to answer at the conclusion of this presentation. Attendees, scroll over your screen to show the little Q&A window or button at the box, and that's where you can put your questions in, and I will collect them and present them to Mr. Clark at the end. Mr. Clark, the forum is yours.
Thank you, Eric. Have I successfully put my screen up? Eric, are we good?
I'm just seeing you. You have to hit the share screen at the bottom of the...
Okay. I thought I did that. Oh, there it is. One step I missed. How about now?
You're good.
Good, good. Well, good day, everyone, and thank you for taking time to listen and participate and hopefully gain some wisdom or insight or challenge us with questions. The Death and Rebirth of the American Job Shop, a bit of a provocative title, but wanted to dramatize what is changing in our industry. And certainly you would look at the challenges of 2020 and what that means to the American job shop environment. And no one could argue that we're in a period of dramatic change. And the things that we had done before that had been successful, we cannot rely on to carry us forward. So today I hope to give you some insight towards that. The introduction's already been complete. The credibility I bring is working for 2 international machine tool companies that really focused on the second and third tier manufacturing sector and call that the American Job Shop. And so I've sold, I've traveled the world, I've seen best practices and probably worst practices throughout my career working for 2 very capable companies. So I hope I can bring you some insight as we go forward. So talk about the death of the American Job Shop. What is fading away? I mean, we all know about the traditional model, and we all lived on the success and growth of medium to large size production lot sizes, a very concentrated, many times local customer base. We had bias early on to manual equipment with unskilled labor, and we've moved up from there. And we relied on technology that had long been written off written down that allowed us to make parts. So for many decades, this model worked. But we could certainly say in the past few decades, this model has been terminally ill. And today I profess or recognize that I think this model is past. And we need to look towards the Reborn Shop and what we need to do in the American Job Shop going forward. So what are the most successful shops doing and how will they excel going forward? And I've highlighted these key attributes: a relentless commitment to new technology. The world is moving very quickly. The technology required is changing rapidly as we see the impact of software and others. Agility is being mandated and a requirement to allow us to change to the new market trends and needs. Think of 2020 again and what that requires. We have a focus on cost control that is going to drive our profitability model or allow us to penetrate and win new customers. So the days of having a 10 and 20-year contract or an extended contract and being able to deal on that basis is certainly gone and part of the dying model. And probably most important to how do we become a reborn shop is the use of data to drive our business. But maybe new to so many small American job shops is the absolute requirement to implement and expand marketing efforts to continuously reach new customers. This is going to be absolutely essential. So we'll talk about a lot of these. Some of the questions we get is, what's the impact now with 2020 upon us with reshoring? And certainly all signs point to work being brought back to North America, but also think that North America has many, many shops and is a very large country. And so the competition is maybe not a lot less. And certainly companies prefer just-in-time deliveries and like to work with local suppliers in the area. But I would augment that to say cost will always be the most critical requirement in winning business. So to look at it another way, if you feel comfortable that you control your immediate market and group of customers, are you really limiting yourself and your shop and restricting your future growth because you're not using some of the tools we talked about to branch out, to get into new markets and new customers, or adapt to a 2020 situation where you need to go find new work? So the freedom to change, that's what we're looking for in the Reborn Shop. And agility enables flexibility. So this world is changing fast, and success is going to be based on agility within your operations, within your team, within the machine tools, processes, and techniques that you have in your shop. So it's imperative that we all think of how to become an agile organization. And that's going to change our thinking. So let's think about building an agile team with our people. And the first response most people have is, well, I'll cross-train some of my people in the shop and make sure we can move people based on production loads and requirements. And that's a very simplistic approach, because cross-training people is good and necessary, but you've got to be careful that you're not taking a group of specialists in a very narrow area that have attained a level of competency on processes and now turned them into a generalist to where they're knowledgeable about a broader area but not expert. So you think of adding errors, you think of adding scrap and downtime. So this balance of how to create an agile organization but also maintain the process control necessary for quality and throughput. So the Reborn Shop must encourage and fund ongoing education. We must focus on building knowledge in the people we have, and the more knowledge they have, the easier it will be for them to adapt to the requirements of a Reborn Shop. Empowering your team to recommend and take action. They know more on the shop floor and understand what the bottlenecks are and where the waste is than certainly an owner or an executive up on the second floor. So building this culture of team-driven improvements is going to facilitate the agile organization that is necessary in a reborn shop. So an agile team needs both equipment that is agile as well as the tools that facilitate this. Consider ease of changeover and flexibility when purchasing a new machine or process. How quickly can you adapt as markets go up and down? In the new model, we will be simply focused on how can I produce in lot sizes of one? How can I change over with minimal downtime and get my capital equipment back into production? So the technologies, tool presetters, automation, all of the things people have been implementing to seamlessly change over output. I like to use the term that capital equipment, whether it's a turning center like indexes or milling machine or laser machine and CMM, they depreciate 24 hours a day. And so when you look at buying a high technology piece of capital equipment, it's incumbent upon the reborn shop to figure out how to maximize that utilization. The reason we held on to equipment for 10 years past its prime was because it was fully depreciated on our books and it appeared to be free on our financials. But that was the wrong way of looking at it. What are the productivity losses or opportunity losses of having to make parts on a very outdated process? And what helps us today is the software packages for simulation, job scheduling, machine management that can empower your team to be flexible. This will feed into the data-driven job shop comments I'll make later. But we are able, with today's software, to better manage what goes on our shop floor to increase our productivity, increase flexibility, minimize changeover, to keep our equipment as utilized as possible. And obviously, we must have agile processes. They need to be flexible enough, but we also need to understand that many of our customers, many of the parts require certified, documented processes that are very difficult to change quickly. And so we have to find the balance of how do we seek continuous improvement in our machining techniques, optimization, workflow, while yet maintaining the quality that's critical for our customers. So what happens, though, in the death of the American job shop was we used these restrictions to really inhibit organizational change and to stand behind the excuse that we can't change our processes, this has been locked in. And so we are then cementing the inefficiencies of this job throughout its productive lifetime with us. So as a shop leader in a reborn shop, how do we embrace these policies, these processes, to give your team the capability to adapt quickly, but proactively, both proactively and reactively, to maximize long-term success? I'm not sure I have the answer for you, but identifying this balance, we must always be challenging ourselves to find a way that we are not hiding behind simple excuses of why we can't make improvement. So I'll go through a few representative customers of Index, because I know Index, of people that have achieved this level of success. And I just have this one slide, no video. Metal Quest Unlimited is a new customer to Index in the last 2 years, located in Hebron, Nebraska. And in their 25-plus year existence, they had a strategy to heavily invest in technology on the manufacturing, whether it's the equipment they have, the automation they have, the in-process inspections. And their goal was to match the work to the process, to go find work that matched their technology, and to be a rapid response shop, and to provide full traceability for the quality. So they built in this agility while providing the full traceability. And for those interested, here's their website, and also I believe they have a couple good YouTube videos. But MetalQuest typifies this section of the presentation around agility and what they have done. Moving on, the time to control costs. And the money value of time, not the time value of money. So we have to think about our business differently in that every time a part sits in your shop, from quoting to production planning to programming to setup to machine to whip between machines to inspection to deburring to packaging out the door, that is adding up your costs. So the money value of time, the Reborn Shop has to think about, what is this costing us? And what do we do to maximize the throughput and reduce the time of that component from raw material to finished product? And nothing will impact your profitability more radically than being more efficient with your time. The simplest thing we all think about is reducing cycle times on individual products or parts, and that is the most significant contributor. But the time your team spends on tasks, setting up a job, converting a job, setting up tooling, the changeover, we have to be thinking about the money value of time and eradicate that from our operation. So we mentioned cycle times, and certainly at Index as a high volume production lathe supplier, minimizing cycle time is what we do. And minimizing cycle time will have a greater impact on your cost per piece, more so than any other action you can take. Reducing machining times will nearly always be worth your efforts and investment when it comes to the cost per piece. So reducing cycle times increases your throughput, and you think about that time that part spends in your shop, it's absorbing a smaller and smaller overhead allocation and allowing you to reduce your cost because you are making that part decision or making that part faster. So when you look at new equipment, what is interesting is that a new machine, cycle time will always be the most significant determinant of your return on investment. And that seems to make sense. But for all of us who have these ROI calculations, and as we do our costing models for our quotes and everything else, you can play with this and realize that the machine capital cost isn't as big an impact as the cycle time is, meaning spending more for higher technology that yields a lower cycle time will have a lower cost per piece. And so cycle time is critical, even if it takes more automation or efforts or a higher technology machine or whatever to achieve this lower cycle time. So the ROI will be driven by a lower cycle time. And machine price is really almost third or fourth. Labor utilization, tool life cost, all of this become secondary and tertiary influencers behind cycle time. So people always challenge when they're buying equipment, well, this is 20% more than this solution, but you have to look at the cycle time throughput capability in your ROI models. After the machine equipment, labor obviously is one of our largest contributors to the cost. And most profitable shops need to apply their team as efficiently as possible. Nothing new here. How are they doing that, though? It's incorporating automation and minimizing intervention with the equipment to reduce setups and allow you to do lower lot sizes, change over quickly, and minimize your labor cost per part. And so we start engineering now the front end of the operations in order to reduce the amount of man hours or mind time that each of us are spending trying to get this part up and running and out the door. So you have to harness the technology to reduce or eliminate these repetitive tasks, to have your team concentrate on tasks that add significantly more value, and then drive to increase your machine utilizations and throughput. As I talked about, we said a higher value or a higher cost machine might deliver a lower cycle time, but it's still a higher cost, so you need to keep the utilizations up on that equipment, and that will drive your costs down and your profitability up. The next big area after machines and labor is workflow. And the most successful shops will expose and eliminate waste, simplifying and streamlining the flow of work through their facility. Lean concepts, lean manufacturing, we've all been wrestling and implementing this to some levels of success. But the driver in today's world, especially now that we're at lower overall production capacities and people aren't running at 100% or 80% or more, it's being able to get a part out the door as quickly as possible. And so the concept and the balance is, can you complete machining on a component in a single setup to boost your throughput, to eliminate labor cost per piece and reduce work in process as that part moves around the shop. And done in one is always, a goal, and balance that against, pure cycle time and takt time of doing multiple operations on multiple machines. But in today's world, analyzing that workflow is critical to being a reborn shop for the future. And then looking and investing in additional equipment to perform secondary operations in the area of each machine instead of a dedicated department somewhere else in the shop to improve this workflow and throughput efficiency. Excuse me. So example number 2 of an index trialed customer is Philips Precision Metacraft, a medical manufacturer, 50 years in existence in Elmwood Park, New Jersey. Invested in our Traub TNL20 Swiss style machine for making bone screws. But the machine technology was part of a much larger lean operation that Philips and its president, Johnny Phillips, was trying to implement as they looked at how to become more efficient, how to manage their workflow, how to get things through their operations at the lowest possible cost. So by implementing high technology machines to reduce cycle time, combine operations into one, it freed up the operator's capacity. Not only was he running more than one machine, but he now had time to relocate the cleaning, deburring, inspection operations for those components immediately in that area. And this was a shop floor, team-driven, lean concept of how to minimize the work in process and improve efficiency in their operation. This was a 50-year-old shop with 50-year-old equipment. And not only embracing lean concepts, but embracing the technology, empowering your people, and determining what you could do, and then being part of the solution so that an operator said, that's not my job. You can see the guy here, he's sitting there running a deburring operation on these bone screws just as they come off the machine. So this was a dramatic reduction in cost, and not only allowed them to become more profitable, but to grow their business and get more work, to get more throughput without adding another facility or people, especially critical now in today's economy. So Philips Precision Metacraft, again, their website's very informative as you learn more about what they've done in efficiency and lean concepts. So knowledge is power, nothing that we haven't heard before, but it's really transforming data into action. The shops that will thrive are capturing and processing data to improve their operations, improve their quality, and be able to truly understand where all of their costs are. Data is critical. So through data, we can hunt down inefficiencies in our shop and remove those wastes from our operations. There's no other way to do it. You can't ask a guy where the waste is only. You've got to be able to look at it and measure it and track at it. So it's not just gathering data, but then it's being able to analyze it. And this has been around a while as we've looked at machine connectivity and shop floor software, where we're pulling up all of the utilization data, tool life data, obviously workflow and scheduling data now in the shop, and you analyze that. What I remember hearing from Cisco and many other people is we're in an era of big data, where we just collect data on everything. And then we pull that up and we use the software that's available now to analyze that data to look for trends. And so if you think of big data, it's like the biggest spreadsheet you've ever seen that tells you nothing. But if you can now start using the software to analyze, truly why is this machine making 30% more parts per day than this machine running it, or the tool life is different, or why are we having a bottleneck here and all this work stacked up in front of this process. So the use of data is going to be critical for the reborn American job shop, and we better become data-centric. You don't get what you don't measure, all of the phrases we've used here, but it is absolutely critical. And there isn't a reborn shop that I've been in that hasn't had visual management, hasn't had updates, hasn't had analytics going to understand what is happening there. And so it'll find and eliminate those bottlenecks. It'll free up idle capacity. It will establish those disparities, as I said, between the two machines and find out what the heck is going on. Is it an operator? Is it the machine? Is it the tooling? And then we can use those to root that out and implement best practices throughout your facility, which is ultimately making us more efficient. The other secondary and maybe even more important benefit of data is the insight it gives you to transform your shop into a proactive organization. And it'll increase the confidence and the reliability of your processes and your quality. The more you understand how a piece of equipment should perform, the earlier you can identify potential problems. And this increased knowledge of your operations will optimize scheduling. It'll improve that. And it'll probably reduce your inspection time because you know exactly what is going on there. So don't shy away from, at the beginning, collecting large amounts of data from every aspect of your shop, and then looking at software solutions that can help you break that down into actionable activities to improve your efficiency. So when you dive into the data on your processes, you will free up these hidden costs, and they can be eliminated. Ensure that your pricing keeps pace with your competitors, with your customer, allow you to get into new markets. You're not going to acquire a new customer being a higher price and a longer delivery and not local. You're going to have to do this through best practices. So the data will reveal where a specific job machines sell and the indirect costs are impacting your profitability. And this will help you succeed and grow and change as you go forward. So another index example, this one on the power of data. APN is a manufacturer of aerospace components located in Quebec, another operation in Southern California. APN is incessantly focused on data, and they have been an early adopter, implementer, developer of metadata and Industry 4.0, and they have challenged all of their machine tool suppliers, including Index, as to how to better connect and pull data from the shop floor, and then transform this data into actionable intelligence for constant improvement. So they're almost over the top when it comes to their focus on the importance of Industry 4.0 and shop floor metrics and data collection as their ticket to improving their productivity and performance going forward. So again, look at their website or Google them or on YouTube. But each of these areas I've talked about, we have very specific examples of customers who have exemplified all these attributes. So new ways to get new business. Every one of us should be marketing. At a minimum, every savvy shop owner should be using the marketing tools available. We all know here. Heck, we market ourselves through personal LinkedIn and Facebook and all of this stuff. And are we doing it effectively with our shop and with our capabilities there? So we must be marketing. We must be marketing. And if you're not doing it and you're not making that a core competency of your operation, I think your business model is flawed going forward. You have to put your best foot forward. Everybody should have a managed digital presence. Every website should be professional and tell a compelling story. The good news is these design tools have become so cheap and so user-friendly that it's easy to get someone in your operation to put up this professional presence and be able to keep it up to date. Go the other way. If your online presence is sloppy, non-existent, or dated, what are you telling your potential customers? And what message are you sending them? When a shop is trying to find a new supplier for components and they look you up, are they feeling that you are a progressive, technologically driven production house, or you simply have a list of the machines you have in your shop and some of the customers and certifications that you've acquired? An effective website needs to have video and written content that is complementary and used in the social media. And it's a way to connect with potential customers and also demonstrate your capabilities to them. So what this means is putting content up about problems you solved, how to do a unique deburring operation, or how to eliminate a secondary operation on a component. Everybody should be looking for short content that they can populate into their websites, social media, so that it becomes searchable to your operations and allow people to find you as they're looking for a particular component, attribute, solving a problem. Social media, mostly LinkedIn for the business to business, provides really an unprecedented tool to build and share your reputation, connecting with your current customers on an ongoing basis and future customers. So you think about it, in 2020, our world has changed to where we're not visiting our customers. We're not visiting new customers. Our salespeople aren't on the road like they used to be. We're not going to trade shows. And so what is the way that we are going to be connecting and interacting and building our company and our customer base for the future? And an even bigger challenge, if you're trying to present yourself to a new market that maybe you haven't served, or a new geographic location that you are not well known in. So, the rule number one, if people at your shop, salesperson, key personnel, are not on LinkedIn and not connecting to everybody they know or have quoted or interacted with, it's got to change. You have got to build this network so that when your quoting department or your salesperson puts up a interesting job we received and how we did it a little bit different, or that we won this job, that's going to build your business. So then that forwards on to participating in online groups and conversations and think about your key people interacting online with potential customers, and they start to feel pretty good about your operations, and that you have a pretty good way of thinking about this component and maybe can dramatically reduce the cost. So we have to have an online presence, and you have to be connected with your customers, and it has to be driven from the top down in your shop, because I think coming out of 2020, we are going to be interacting and engaging customers differently than we've ever done before. So online is a crowded place, and claiming this mind share is critical. So how do you do that? How many people are reading and seeing trade publications now? We're certainly not going to trade shows anymore. The face-to-face meetings, the other ways we used to interact with our clients has all been brought to a halt. So we need online advertising, and it's become extremely easy to use now. And it's a critical tool for all companies to expand and reach your brand. So every shop at a minimum should have a daily financial allowance for ads to be placed there, Google ads. Digital advertising allows you to put relevant stories and content in front of the key decision makers. And maybe you can promote a video about an impressive application or type of work you've been doing in your shop. And then think about what that does to your team members to see that out there as you look at retaining your team members in this market, and also recruiting new, more knowledgeable people for the future. So from a personal basis, we've all seen this on Amazon. We go shopping for a pair of shoes, and instantly we've got 6 ads of related equipment, whether it's socks or different brands or whatever. You know, are we doing this effectively on a business-to-business basis? And if you're not, you're missing a huge opportunity at an extremely low cost. So once again, I think the Reborn Shop of the future will have people paying attention to how this is done. Now, us at Index, we're a relatively small operation in North America, 70-some people, and we have a couple in-house marketing people, but we also use an outside agency to help manage our digital marketing. And they're placing all of the Google ads, they're tracking the benefits, they're getting the metrics back, again, back to the data issue and requirement. And so it's not something that we have to be expert on, but we have to be able to act on the data. So I think all of us in a reborn American job shop should have this capability and be utilizing this. So my final example today is Tom's Corporation, Marketing in Action. They're a medical manufacturer in Berlin, Connecticut. Been around, I would say, about 25 years. Their website is very professional, very intuitive. They have put together quite a series of polished, informative videos and are extremely active across social channels. Once we connected with them, because they're a customer, the content that they push out daily. In the lower right corner, they were very active as a critical supplier of PPEs, and they retooled their shop in order to provide ventilator components and other items. And they put that and broadcasted that on social media. And what does that do to their brand and image? And their commitment is to grow their business, to take market share. And if you think about it, today's market isn't immediately getting bigger and growing organically, so we all have a bigger pie to eat from. We are really looking at how do we acquire market share from our competitors or other shops that are not innovative and not capable. So if you have a chance, I'd suggest you go to toms.com or Google their YouTube videos or friend them on LinkedIn. It's a dramatic, positive social media presence. So to summarize and wrap up, I started with the key traits of a reborn shop. They excel in these areas: a relentless commitment to new technology, the agility built into the organization to quickly change market needs, not from part to part, from market to market, from customer to customer to lower lot sizes. Is your operations agile enough to survive the competition going forward? A dramatic focus on cost control to drive your profitability and allow you to compete, to get new work and to take work. And the backdrop of data to drive all of your business decisions. It really takes the subjectivity out of improvements and changes you want to make because you're looking at the data and it's objective and it's not negotiable. And then using marketing tools to continuously reach out to new customers. So this to me is the Reborn Shop, and without these attributes, you'll become the death of the American job shop. And so with that, I will end and appreciate your attention, and I will open it up for some questions. Eric?
Thank you very much, Tom. A very interesting presentation. One of the questions, and I will invite our guests to also scroll down to the bottom of the page and open the little Q&A box to enter their questions. Skills gap. We hear a lot about that. So how can a small job shop be proactive in replacing the talent that they're sure to lose through a lot of baby boomer retirements? And what's a good source for new talent?
I'm not telling you because we're faced with the same challenges here. Everybody. And Index is a German-based company, and they have the same problems in Europe. You're not going to find these people out there, and certainly not people in manufacturing who might have these skills that we need going forward, which might be much more software-driven than being a hands-on journeyman on a machine. So at Index, we've implemented internships. We've participated in Manufacturing Day. We're reaching out down through the middle schools to attract people into manufacturing, into machining, and then we are working with the various universities, technical colleges on having internships. So even in this downturn for Index, we had our full intern program this summer. And actually it was better than most because we weren't as busy this summer as the last 4 years. And so our people actually got to spend more time with the interns. Over the past 3 years, we've probably hired 50% of the people who have come through our intern class. And yes, they're not as knowledgeable as the baby boomers and the guys who have been doing this for 30 years, but they're much quicker on the new technologies and asking questions about the workflow and why are we doing it this way, and using software to help solve problems. So you have to grow your own. It's not sitting out there waiting for you. If it is, it's probably expensive. And I've also found that through this funnel of internship and talent, we build a loyalty to our people, and the turnover and attrition of those young people tend to be lower. So it's not there's no magic bullet or solution, but I believe we should all start and building a pipeline of talent into our operations.
All right. Well, certainly the COVID-19 pandemic has changed the way a lot of companies do business. Have you seen the smaller job shops being able to respond quickly? And if not, what sort of recommendations do you have to them? And hopefully this won't continue too much longer, but we have to be prepared.
Well, the interesting comments I've heard from many of our customers is as March and April evolved and everybody was shut down, our customers, were calling, screaming that they needed these machines up and running. One customer needed a machine shipped immediately, and it's because that machine was a highly automated process that required the least amount of manpower and labor. So during the COVID last 6 months, many shops are saying, I can only have a limited number of people here and I need the maximum throughput of production. And so when you look at what we talked about in having high technology equipment that runs unattended, is automated, inspection, and allows you to drive your labor costs down, that has been what has allowed a lot of the shops to succeed and continue on during this COVID pandemic. And looking forward, that will continue. And so to me, it augments the need for technology first and to give us that flexibility and the need for automation in our operations.
Very good response, Tom. Another thing that I've heard, and certainly from some of the OEMs in the aerospace world, is that some shops should try or consider partnering to provide a better value proposition. Maybe a company can combine expertise, say in heat treating, with another company that excels in CNC machining. Do you have any examples of that, or any anecdotal stories you can share, whether this has been helpful to the rebirth of the job shop, and if so, what should companies look for, and what are the, on the other side, what are the disadvantages?
Well, certainly when you look at basic processes that are very distinct or different from machining, turning, milling, and then heat treating or coatings, very expensive, and also EPA regulated and limited. So it's not a matter that a traditional shop can just add a lot of these processes to it. So I think the question is an appropriate one, is we in the American Job Shop ought to be looking for these complementary required processes and partnering with those companies, bringing them work and them bringing you work, and together you're providing a better product. There isn't a company out there, certainly not in aerospace, that isn't looking for a fewer number of suppliers doing a broader portfolio of services. Typical machining and subassembly and some coatings and things like that. So in the aerospace world, when you can't build that competency in-house, then partnering becomes the next step. And the hope is that you both bring value to this, whether it's a customer base or a contract or whatever, so it's beneficial to both. And yeah, it is happening and has happened. And I think it's something that the owners and leaders of these shops must be looking at in order to run their business going forward.
You talked about agility. What about versatility? A number of companies have been looking at different markets. If they've been in the automotive market, they've been looking to upskill and look at some aerospace, bidding on those contracts, or medical devices companies looking to expand into, say, aerospace. Do you have any advice for companies looking to expand their base of the base of their market?
It's difficult. The markets you identified, certainly in medical and certainly in aerospace, require certifications, and quality systems, and a lot of time and investment in order to win that first contract. So you don't just jump from an automotive to an aerospace component or to a medical component. And many of them have restricted modifications to processes once they're implemented. So to me, it goes back to a shop setting a long-term strategy of what their competencies are and where those competencies can bring the biggest value to the customer base. And let's say it's medical and aerospace components, and then make the concerted effort to go after those processes. The beauty of medical and aerospace is there's a lot of five-axis continuum machining. So you look at programming systems, inspection systems, difficult materials. There's a lot of synergies there. But you, again, don't just turn one on and turn one off. So these are critical, strategic commitments that I think the job shop has to make. But we've been riding a 10-year wave of good business, and who would have thought the aerospace component manufacturing would be where it's at today? So it really speaks volumes to the fact to have a diversified customer base and to not be so dependent on one that a market disruption like we've seen doesn't adversely or dramatically impact your business. But it's not something you can do reactively and whimsically. But there are synergies there, and yes, the best shops are implementing those tactics and strategies.
All right. What has been the impact of the recent economic downturn to the cycle of death and rebirth for job shops?
Well, it accelerates and exasperates both. And, we see an interesting mix of shops that are running at full capacity and acquiring work and nonstop, and other shops that are running under 50% and have laid off most of their staff. So it has really created challenges and probably caused all of us in manufacturing, and certainly owners of shops, to challenge themselves. Where am I at? Where is my shop at? Am I where I'm at because I'm good? Where am I at because of the market I'm serving? Or am I losing business because of my technologies and agility and cost and all of those things? So as with any stress in an economic environment, it's going to highlight the winners and losers, which came back to the title of this presentation, because, with business down, whatever it is, 30% for a period of time, the people that are good are going to eat the lunch of the people that are not as nimble and capable. So it will create a faster demise and death of those job shops to the benefit of the ones that remain, and it'll become stronger. So each of us have to decide where we're at in that spectrum.
Well put. You talked about marketing and the importance of social media. What beyond that should job shops be doing?
I'm not sure I have a very competent answer beyond that, but as we've seen in our social media is just being connected. All of our salespeople connected to all of our customers, targeting the customers that even don't know about us yet, and connecting with their key people, identifying markets that we think could benefit from our competencies and solutions, and getting our digital content in front of them, so that it may prompt, as all of us sit around looking for how to do things better and how to come out of this economic cycle, that something there that we received in social media would prompt us to take action. And so when you look at the benefits of marketing in social media, it's really having a database of who are the people that you really think can benefit from what you do, the parts you make, the processes you have, the capabilities you have. And if you get your business from 15 customers, there's got to be another 15 out there that are using your competitor. How are you showing them what you're doing? Do you have that database? Are you finding those names? So it's not just a matter of putting something up on LinkedIn. It's actively developing that network and database so that people who haven't even contacted you might be prompted to say, hey, this is interesting. I've got the same problem, and make that call, and you get that quote, and you get that job. So that's what's critical. And, manufacturing has been maybe slow to the digital world, but it's, and we're too reactive. So we've got to be asking ourselves, are we doing enough to push out there? And this isn't causal, do it today, get it tomorrow. It's how do you build this really for your business next year and the year after.
Good points, Tom. A lot of people are so wrapped up in what they're doing day to day that they don't get a chance to look at that long-term marketing view. In wrapping up, what's been the one main transformation of the job shop in the last decades, and what do you think it will portend for our future in the future of manufacturing?
Well, big data and shop floor analytics. If I look at my sector of manufacturing and machine tools, the kinematic speed of a milling machine, turning machine, or whatever has not increased as fast in the last few years as it did 10 years and 20 years before. And what has advanced is the software and now the shop floor Industry 4.0 data that allows us to eliminate the waste that still resides around our operations. So the shops that are successful are going to be looking for that waste. I call it the $100 bills laying around every one of our machines or processes in the shop. And we've ignored it and walked over it. And using the data and the analytics to understand where those $100 bills are hiding in your shop floor is going to be the profit that you make next year. And so, you know, the business runs itself. The profit is the efficiency you drive in your business. And I think the biggest innovation hasn't been so much focused around iron. It's been around the connectivity and the software and the analytics that's available now to the Reborn Shop to truly take them to the next level.
That's about all the time we have. Thank you very much, Tom, for describing the ways American job shops can and do reinvent themselves. And thank you, attendees, for your attention and questions. Don't miss next week's IMTS Spark conferences. On Tuesday, October 13th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, ICAM Technologies will present a field-proven technology allowing manufacturers using CNC machines to automate processes and reduce manufacturing costs. This unique technology, known as adaptive post-processing, includes NC post-processing, machine tool simulation, and toolpath optimization in one concurrent operation, and is the cornerstone of smart manufacturing and Industry 4.0. Also next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, discover how Charlie Mitchell, manufacturing engineering manager at Andretti Autosport, used a work holding system to shave 70% to 80% off his setup times. Next Thursday, October 15, our presentations cover smart connected machines with the help of the cloud, and simulation paves the way for productivity with additive manufacturing. Watch your email for invitations to register, or you can find more IMTS conference sessions at imts.com/spark. Thank you, and goodbye for now.
Bye now.